We are going to go ahead and get started. Even I think how many folks, oh, we do have a good share. Thank you for everybody for joining us in tonight's discussion about the neighborhood at Alma-Lincoln Park Neighborhood Transportation Management Program. As we all know right now, because of the COVID situation, all of our public meetings have gone online. And obviously we're trying to figure out, this new format of hosting these virtual get-togethers and discussions with the community. So ahead of time, we want to apologize just in case my dog Coco decides to jump on my lap, you hear him barking, or anybody else's dog come in, or if we have technical difficulties. If by any chance you yourself have a technical difficulty, you cannot ask questions or so forth, if you don't mind closing the Zoom out and jumping back on, most of the time that solves the issues. But if by any chance you have any other things, any other situations, please feel free to put them on the Q&A, just ask us directly. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. For tonight's agenda, we're going to do a little bit of, obviously, the project team introductions. We're going to go a little bit of an overview about what the heck this NTMP program is all about, our project timeline. And then we're actually going to walk you through the online survey website that we have, where we're posting all of this information, and that is going to be crucial because that's going to be our primary mechanism right now for obtaining, the feedback that we need from you all. And then we're going to go through a little bit sort of the next steps. So if you have any questions for all of this, obviously it's a virtual format. At the bottom of your screen, you should see the little Q&A. Oh, I missed one. Sorry, my bad. Project introductions. You see technical difficulties with myself. So I am Gaby Cerrado. I am the DOTI project manager for the Alma-Lincoln Park NTMP. And I'm going to go around and asking the folks on the list to introduce themselves. Mr. Brett, you're next.
Yeah, hi, my name is Brett Boncory. I'm with DOTI's Transportation Design Group, and I'm here because I'm the NTMP program manager. So thank you all for coming.
Ms. Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Cushman, and I'm one of the design engineers that works on the NTMP program.
Mr. Michael.
Hi, I'm Mike Wallen. I am the District 3 Area Transportation Engineer and helping out here. Thanks.
And then we have our consultant team, Ms. Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess Hernandez, and I am a transportation planner. I work for Apex Design, and I specialize in multimodal planning.
Ms. Phoebe.
And I'm Phoebe Fuchs. I'm also a transportation planner at Apex Design.
So this is the team that are going to be working in the Alma-Lincoln Park neighborhood for the next, few months, in trying to basically going out, seeking your input and analyzing your input, and then basically spitting back out a list of projects that you should be seeing at the end of this year, beginning of next, about the improvements that we want that you all have told us that we need in the neighborhood. So, this is our first virtual meeting for this process. This is sort of the official public kickoff for the Alma NTMP process. You can, in this particular, virtual meeting, you can ask questions at the bottom of your screen. There's a little 2 Q&A boxes, icons right there. Please feel free to chat, type in your questions. Don't make it easy on us. Phoebe and Brett actually will be, monitoring the Q&A, and they will be asking questions. We're going to have sort of 2 Q&A sessions in today's meeting. But please go ahead and tell us, anything that you want to chat about regarding what is happening in the Alma-Lincoln Park neighborhood. Also in these particular Q&A stops, if you raise your hand, we're going to try actually to upgrade you so that you can speak into and have a discussion with us about what is, again, what your question is and what you're seeing in the neighborhood. So just raise your hand, and Phoebe will try to make her magic happen on the other side. And we, you'll be able to ask us the questions again during those 2 segments. Again, obviously, this is a virtual setting, it's a virtual format. So let's be nice to one another, be respectful. I always have to say that, unfortunately, but you never know, unfortunately, in this day and age, what's going to happen. There has been a couple of Zoom bombs, and we will try to handle them as quickly as possible. And so with that, what is NTMP and what is this whole process of NTMP? And basically, the Neighborhood Transportation Management Program, what we're here to do is to be able to work with the community, work with you all, with the residents and the businesses, to identify those particular locations in the neighborhood that are causing some particular issue, trouble, safety element, and then actually developed, concrete plans and, and actions in order to solve those issues, in order to increase the safety, the connectivity, the mobility, accessibility, and livability for the entire community. So that's why it's really crucial. I mean, we're trying to go basically sort of neighborhood by neighborhood, but it is very crucial because we only hear a particular element. We can only see so much because we don't live in the neighborhood 24/7. The majority of us don't live in the neighborhood 24/7, even though I'm there a lot. But this is why this is a collaborative process, and we need as many hands as possible in order to identify those particular trouble spots that we have. So the next slide, please. So far what we have heard, the way that we usually tend to hear about what's happening in the neighborhood is through our planning studies and through 311 services. Our planning studies actually, Alma-Lincoln Park is a little bit it has benefited because we have, a few months ago, we kicked off with our planning team, the Community Transportation Network South Central, and Alma-Lincoln Park was part of those neighborhoods. So we have already had a leg up, and Jess is gonna go over a little bit about the feedback that we have received about what is happening in the neighborhood. But then in addition to that, Dottie heavily relies on our 311 system. That is how we hear from you all about what is happening, the safety issues that are happening in your neighborhood. And if you don't know about 311, 311 is sort of just a general umbrella for any type of city services, but your Department of Transportation and Infrastructure particularly uses this because to know about the potholes, about the potential speeding concerns, about sight distance issues that we see in the neighborhood. And the more that the neighborhood submits to 311, the more resources that we can allocate, to the neighborhoods. So that is how we hear, and we have, we have gotten a lot of feedback. A lot of, Michael actually handles, who you just met, handles he's our area engineer, and he handles a lot of those 311 requests. But again, and we're trying to sort of making sure that it's easy and accessible for folks. But that is how we hear about what is happening, in the neighborhood. So why, next slide, please. So even though we hear about all of the stuff from these 2 different sort of elements, from these two different branches, NTMP is needed because we're trying to be, Dottie's trying to be more proactive in trying to address your issues that you're seeing out there. So, usually we submit the 311 request, and it's because already you've had a close call with a driver not yielding. This is where we're trying to be a little bit more proactive and try to develop solutions now in order to be able to implement them. It's also a little bit sort of on the equity side of things, because there are neighborhoods, we do have a lot of neighborhoods where we just don't hear, either we don't have planning efforts that are taking place right there and then, or we're not hearing enough from 311. La Alma, in all honesty, La Alma-Lincoln Park used to be part of those neighborhoods, but because we have so many, different elements happening, the Santa Fe Streetscape, the CTN South Central, the 13th, 14th Avenue Bikeway, we have been able to be out there a lot more. But in general, this is why NTMP is needed. And then it also addresses, we're trying to address those neighborhood issues at that neighborhood scale, those local to local issues. We do hear, obviously we do hear a majority of stuff is like Colfax is very hard, is very unsafe to cross. Spear, there's a high speed, 6th Avenue. We do hear that very loud and clear, but what is happening at that local to local street network? What is happening at Mariposa and 10th, Galapago, Delaware? So those are the particular, at that smaller scale is where we're trying to achieve that livability and walkability. And so that's why we try to go out there and to better connect, obviously, with all of you in general. Again, if we go sort of by neighborhood approach, even though it takes time to obviously do all of the neighborhoods within the city of County of Denver, we do have this strata of how we approach. And even though it takes us time, but we do get to know exactly what is happening at the neighborhood scale. So next slide. And so how are these neighborhoods selected and why was La Alma-Lincoln Park selected? The first thing obviously is growth pressure. La Alma being so close, literally right next to downtown, it is experiencing a growth pressure in general. The safety issues, how many crashes we have seen in the area, how many high injury networks we have in the neighborhood. That's another one. Transportation equity. This is actually all one of the triggers for Alma-Lincoln Park. This is a community of concern. And so that's why, again, we're trying to be out here sooner rather than later and trying to address these safety issues, because we do have a lot of folks that are walking to the train station or biking because it's so easy to bike to, it's such a close proximity to bike to downtown. And again, sort of that multimodal scale, again, because of its proximity to transit, its proximity to downtown, and so many other venues that we are like right there at the cusp. So that is how the neighborhoods are generally selected. And then basically this is our map of, next slide, please, of how, where are we tackling next? So actually Brett and Jess and Phoebe and the team are working also right now on the West Colfax Villa Park NTMP on the west side of town. This is our first kickoff for the public kickoff for the La Alma-Lincoln Park NTMP. We have already done Baker and we have already done 5 Points, and those projects are in, are slowly getting implemented right now. But next, basically 2021, we will be tackling a couple of other neighborhoods, including hopefully Westwood and I believe Monbello or Park Hill, right, Brad? Sort of.
We're still trying to nail it down, but
Gotcha.
Yeah, West is likely.
Westwood is more than likely, yes. So because I know, because that's where I'm going next. So these are all the neighborhoods that basically we'll be tackling as part of that equity component of NTMP. And so this program will identify, next slide, please, Jess. This program will identify, those improved comfort and accessibility, again, sort of that last mile, last block. I would probably, instead of last mile, I would probably say that last block, sensitivity and safety. It is our intent to try to figure out projects that will help reduce speeds, that would improve connections to transit, the 10th and Osage station obviously being pretty darn crucial. And then again, connectivity, we just finished the Baker neighborhood plan to the south. And so how can we make sure that the projects are speaking to one another and improve connectivity between our neighborhoods? Next slide. And so what kind of projects, what kind of programs, projects will we be going through this? We have sort of 3 different buckets of projects, the operational, the NTMP, and future projects. The operational sort of safety projects are actually the ones that are relatively easy to do just through an internal work order that actually Michael and Emily will be working on. And those are, those simple projects like crosswalks, stop bars, daylighting, signal timing. Again, all of those elements can be produced in-house through Dottie crew. And so, but obviously they do require some form of analysis and the time and resources for our crew to do it. So that's why they are relatively low budget, but they are, 0 to 6 months sort of time frame altogether. then we have the NTMP projects. And those are obviously a little bit, those, medium scale projects that actually Jess, Phoebe, and the Apex team are probably going to help us with that do require a little more robust engineering design of the particular safety improvement. And they do require a little bit either contracting it out for implementation or properly allocating it into our plans and programs. So that's why it takes, somewhere between 6 and 24 months, to implement. Again, those are sort of the medium scale. And we do have obviously those larger scale projects that are 24 months or more that require capital, capital allocation, capital money to be allocated, or coordination with CDOT, or those, larger scale projects that would require some form of major reconstruction in our streets. For example, in this particular case, a two-way conversion, I always get poked at, why can't we, make a two-way conversion on Santa Fe and Calumet and bring it back to what it was before? Like those type of elements do require a much greater in-depth analysis, engineering analysis, and coordination with potentially internal departments or external agencies. So that's why it requires, a longer time frame and more capital dollars altogether. Brett, did I miss anything by any chance through this, the first 10 minutes?
That was really good. Done.
Nailed it. And with that, I think we go into our first round of questions. What do we have, Mr. Brett? Do we have any? Ms. Phoebe, Mr. Brett?
Yes, we do. And actually, Gabby, I was actually thinking you would be the best one to answer this one. Greg has asked what they're doing to the bridge over Cherry Creek on 14th
Avenue?
Yes. If you wouldn't mind speaking to that. I think you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is actually one of our bond projects. Unfortunately, that particular bridge was in not the greatest shape at all. So it wasn't that very well structurally sound, and it needed to be replaced, period, just in general. But obviously, as the city is moving towards multimodality, we took this opportunity because the team was also installing, and it has already installed the 13th, 14th Avenue protected bike lanes on it. So that was a pinch point. That was a pinch point. It's still technically a pinch point because the bridge is being rebuilt right now. But if we would have left it as is, that would have been a pinch point in the PBL world. And so we took the opportunity, since the bridge was being replaced, to also widen the sidewalks and establish a multi-use, protected facility on the bridge itself with a decent sidewalk on the north side of things. So it is going to be, that is under construction right now. It is going to be a little bit painful. Again, they're trying to work as fast as possible. Obviously, we have Cherry Creek detours, underneath the bridge, and then we have the actual detours on top of the bridge that is taking place. And obviously, the snow has not helped as expected at all. So we are expecting it to be closed, I believe, until January of this year. I think it's I'm not 100% sure. I apologize. I think it's only until January of this year there's going to be a full closure of the entire thing. But we have tried to establish detours in order to facilitate the movement of pedestrians, bicycles, and cars in Spear and along 14th.
Great, thanks. That's all for the written questions and the Q&A. Just as a reminder, at any point in the presentation, you can feel free, click on that little Q&A icon on the bottom of your screen and submit any question that you want, and we'll answer it in these little question breaks. I do think that I did see a hand raise earlier. I don't know if that hand is still raised. Maybe, Phoebe, do we still have a hand raised? Maybe not. Maybe someone changed their mind.
Take it easy on us. Come on now.
I know, you gotta make it easy on us here. So definitely be asking questions throughout the presentation, and we can get to those. We'll have a few more question breaks in the presentation. So other than that, I think we can keep moving on.
All right. So this is our general schedule and things that we sort of need to do with the community, with you all. Obviously, we are at the end of October, we are in the first community touch point. We have our survey that is already open. Hopefully you have seen it posted on Nextdoor, on Facebook. If you have already played with it, fabulous. If you don't mind, please talk to your neighbors about it. Again, right now we cannot have the face-to-face meetings because of COVID. We cannot be out there as we wish that we could. And so we also don't want to stop the work. We don't want to wait until this COVID is over, and God knows how long that's going to be, before going out there and implementing safety projects. So it is pretty darn crucial that we hear from the community. So if everybody can sort of make that pledge of like, I am going to talk to 5 people about this, and so that they can jump online, that will be fabulous. But the intent of all of this is, we have the survey. We closed the survey on November 8th. And again, Jess is going to walk you through that survey. And then we're going to the team is going to come back in. We're going to analyze, what you have told us. We're going to then sort of put them again in the little buckets, all the projects that we hear about. And then we're going to come right back out to you sometime hopefully by, really late January or February, with the list of projects so you can help us prioritize them. We do have limited funding in this project. The great thing about, the great and bad thing about this program is that we actually have money to implement these safety improvements. The bad thing about it is that obviously we wish that we had more money to implement the safety improvements. But we actually do have funds, and so we do need to rank them. We're going to come back out to you at the beginning of next year, and you're going to help us prioritize which improvements you want the most in your neighborhood. And then we're going to wrap it up in March with sort of like, okay, this is what we can do. But the intent of all of this is to have projects in the ground 2022. So that is sort of the schedule that we have right now. And in order to sort of make this magic happen, we do have a pretty robust stakeholder committee that is made out of your peers and neighbors. These are all of the entities that are involved in our process. So if by any chance you don't feel comfortable talking to me or anybody from this team, but you do feel comfortable talking to Stella, because you've known Stella for like 20 years now, and she's an icon of the neighborhood, please feel free to reach out to her and tell her, and Stella will either submit it on your behalf or talk to me about it, or we can try to figure out a way that so that you and I can, we can all talk and collaborate together. But we have a pretty robust stakeholder group that is also helping us spread the word and also speaking on your behalf at it. So definitely please reach out to them to make sure that your voice is being heard. And with that, we are going to, Jess is going to take over, and she's going to walk us through our awesome website, our webpage that we have with the survey.
Yeah, thanks, Gabby. So we have a link down here at the bottom that we're also going to share out in the chat as well, because we're hoping that you'll take this opportunity as we go through the website to actually go to the website yourself. And after we kind of explain all of the different features of it, we'll give you a few minutes to kind of take a look at it and make sure that you don't have any questions as you're looking through it. But basically, just as an overview, I'm going to take you to the landing page, and this is where you're going to find project updates, any resources. I'll show you a couple that we already have up there, and our current outreach opportunities. And again, all of those, the second and third time that we come back to the neighborhood to get some feedback on our project progress, that's at this landing page is where you will find information. So I am going to switch screens. Okay, so let me just make sure, can everybody Is it showing my website now?
Yes.
Can it, yeah, okay, great.
Sorry, that was.
No, that's okay. I had closed down everybody, so I couldn't see. Okay, so I'm going to just walk you through. This is the landing page that we talked about, and hopefully that link that you used also opens it up. And I know it's hard to kind of have dual screens, so you're welcome to follow through on your screen, or you can look at the Zoom screen. But basically, you know, it has a normal website. It has a project overview, and then kind of what Gabby just went over, what we're hoping to deliver and what we plan to deliver at the end of the process. And then this is the area where we're going to give you project updates and resources. And so I'll go through the resources that we have up there. As Gabby mentioned, when we were looking through the timeline, we have already gone through existing conditions. And so we want to go ahead and share those maps with you. They're easy to download on the website. And we also are going to share some information that we learned about at the first stakeholder meeting that has been really helpful and will help us through this process. And then this portion of the website has engagement opportunities. And so our biggest engagement opportunity right now is the survey. This is where we really are going to be able to hear from you what you see as concerns and issues in the neighborhood, and will help us when we start to develop what projects we might move forward and what projects can fit into the different categories that Gabby was talking about. I'm going to take you through that link and show you how to use the survey as well. And then this virtual community meeting, this will come off tomorrow because it'll be done. But our plan is that we'll put the recording of the meeting up here as well. And so anybody that you know that wasn't able to attend tonight would be able to download the recording and watch it. So I am going to take a second and show you kind of some of these project progress and materials. So you can click here and download the existing conditions maps or the stakeholder meeting summary. And I've already downloaded both of those, so I'm just going to flip to the next tab. So we develop existing conditions maps. It's something that we do in a lot of projects because it really helps us to understand gaps, barriers, opportunities. And the way that we've set it up for this project is that we have 6 maps, and it kind of covers each mode. And then it also talks about safety. Our 5th map is safety, and our 6th one is future projects, which again looks at opportunities. So I'm just going to quickly go through each map, and then please dig into them when you have a chance. And again, you saw there was an email address on the website where you're welcome to send us questions. We're always happy to be, the more we hear from you, the more engaged, the better we know this project will be. So we keep on saying that. We're going to sound like a broken wheel, but this is, the first map shows walking conditions. And so you can see it it has a hierarchy of sidewalks. And so a sidewalk that meets standards, sidewalks that aren't wide enough, and then sidewalks that are actually missing. And so you can see on the west side of the Alma-Lincoln Park, there are a lot of missing sidewalks and some substandard width sidewalks as well. The second map is bicycle facilities. And on this map, we have both existing and planned, because the Community Transportation Networks project is in this neighborhood, working in this neighborhood as well right now. And so there are a number of planned and some funded bike facilities that are going to be coming. So you can see the hierarchy of the different colors of different types of bicycle facilities. And then we have the matching colors, but the dashed lines for where they're planned.
Hey, it's Jess.
Yeah.
And so for folks, just in case, so for those folks who are not aware, for the CTN, the Community Transportation Networks is looking at Shoshone as one of the corridors, then is, I believe, Delaware, right? Or is it, yes, Delaware, and I'm missing one, Galapago.
Galapago.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. And for those folks who are on the call who do bike a lot, Right now, if you guys know, we were able to, before the weather, obviously our winter hit, we were able to install the 13th Avenue and 13th and 14th protected bikeway up to Mariposa, because that's where the resurfacing sort of stopped. Right now, I believe they're almost done, but they in the interim, we added the temporary facility west of Mariposa, and I believe it is going all the way to Platte River, just as an interim until next year, because next year is when the resurfacing west of Mariposa is taking place. It is still going to be the final product next year is still going to be fully protected the entire way. The interim facility right now, though, is not. So we've added the bike lanes, and I believe the buffer. We had to make a few changes in some spots as an interim. Well, we are not able to add that vertical component, because basically once you add that vertical component, it is extremely hard to remove. So knowing that resurfacing is taking place next year, at this point, we're just adding that buffer facility to fill that gap in the interim. So just in case folks have any questions about that.
Great, thanks, Gabby. So then we have a map of transit as well. And again, and we have a dashed line on here, but this is the Platte Valley Flex Ride, which also serves the Aurora Station. This is a map that shows the speed limits on roadways, the stop control. So it shows stop signs, and you can see the direction of the stop sign in different locations, as well as traffic signals. And then we also, anywhere that we've gotten data already, collected data already about vehicle volumes and vehicle speeds, we've shown on this map. And this will help us because for some of the projects that we are going to be looking at, we might collect data in the future to be able to future part of this project. So over the next month or two, to be able to understand where different stop control may be warranted, or crosswalks, things like that. There's a crash analysis. And just to walk you through the way that this map is set up, these red circles show total crashes, and they're sized by the number of crashes. And so generally, you'll have to look back at this map, but generally you can see that signalized intersections are generally going to have those higher number of crashes. That's not always true, but usually true. And then you can also see we have details that we look at to kind of understand crash trends. We have other details that come behind this as well. This is just a summary, but you can look at the number of total crashes, how many bicycle or pedestrian crashes had a bicycle or pedestrian involved, and then also any crashes that resulted in death or serious injury. And those crashes are a summary total from the last 3 years. And then finally, this is the planned projects map that we have, which shows the bridge that Gabby was just talking about, the bridge replacement that's going to be happening over 14th Ave. And it lists a number of other projects that you can see, future DHA project, the study that's going on right now in Sunken Gardens Park. And so this is just helpful because some of these projects are great for us to be able to partner or collaborate with, and to understand what's happening all around your neighborhood as well. So the other thing that we wanted to show you that's up on the website is some results from just kind of some information that we got from the stakeholders. It's really helpful for us to get this feedback, as Gabby was saying, from the stakeholders. You know, you all live in the neighborhood and interact with the neighborhood much more than any of us do. And so it's like another piece of the puzzle. We have data, and then all of this information that we're getting from you, it helps us to better understand the neighborhood. So we did this exercise with the stakeholders at our first meeting. It's called a SWOT analysis, and it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and constraints. And so you can read all of the comments. We're definitely interested if you have others that you want to share with us. We'd love to hear them. But just to kind of give you some high level and high level overview, the strengths that we heard are really the one that we're excited about is that this project has the budget to be able to implement some of these projects right away. We also see that there are a lot of multimodal improvements that are going on in the neighborhood, the accessibility to transit. Some weaknesses that were brought up are some of the kind of that feeling of an island. There's a lot of barriers from the river, from the highway, from some of these bigger arterials that are around and through the Alma-Lincoln Park. We also, COVID was brought up, and COVID is also brought up as a constraint. Opportunities, and the exciting piece about this is that there really are, you can see this is where we got the most feedback. There are a lot of opportunities, and many of them are projects that are going on at the same time. And I can speak to, and Brett can speak to, the fact that in our NTMP project in West Colfax and Villa Park, we've been able to really partner with other projects that are going on and other programs that have funding and see where there's synergies and ways that we can piggyback and improve projects and designs for all of the projects. It's really been, I think, a very successful collaboration. And so this, I think, makes all of our team very excited to see everything that's happening here and the opportunity for us to continue to collaborate internally and with some other agencies as well outside of Dottie and Denver. Some constraints that were brought up, again, the fact that, and Gabby mentioned this, that we can't do any in-person meetings, and also probably that it's harder for you, all of the residents, to tell each other about this. So you're going to have to be telling each other not in person, by email or by phone. There's just less opportunities for engagement all around. Also, some of the other ones are budget, which we really don't have control over, and COVID may be impacting. And then the fact that students aren't going to be in school as much, and it may be harder to be engaging them. So definitely take a look at this when you have an opportunity. But I do want to focus on the survey, because this is really where we're hoping that you can spend the most time. So when you click on this, it brings you to the survey window, and it's a map, and then also this guide over here, which actually has a question survey and then our kind of like our map feedback survey. So I'm just going to quickly take you through these buttons. This info button, when you click it, it pops out, and it has a lot of information in case you forget about how to use this survey, how to drop the pins, which I'm going to show you. And then we've tried on all parts of the website to also have a translation in Spanish as well. And so the instructions are also here in Spanish. Underneath that is the survey, which is more of a traditional survey than the feedback map. And we're really hoping that each of you can take the time to fill this out. It really helps us to understand two main things. First, who is responding to this survey. It's important for us that we try to get as much representative feedback of who lives in the neighborhood and who works or visits the neighborhood. And so the more we can understand about who has filled out the survey, the more we can understand who we need to target and reach out to make sure that they know that this survey is available and try to get their feedback. So you can see it has some demographic questions. All of these questions are optional. But again, these just help us to be able to target our outreach and trying to get feedback. This question here that asks you to rank your priorities for improving transportation, this helps us because, like we've said, we wish we had funding for every project that we think is important. We're inevitably not going to. And so the more we can know where your priorities, your community priorities are, the more it will help us to prioritize projects later. So this is one of those sliders, so you can just kind of slide up your priorities and rank them. Again, this survey is also available in Spanish. And the other part of the feedback that we're looking for is on this map. And there's a lot on the map, so I'm just going to take a second and walk you through it. Over here on the right is the legend. And it has some of the similar pieces, items that you saw on that future projects map. We didn't put all of the future projects on it because it just would be a very busy map. But we did try to put some that we felt like were important when we're getting this feedback from you about transportation issues or transportation concerns. So you can see any of the planned bike facilities, planned sidewalk construction is on here. There's a future traffic signal at 13th and Osage that's kind of buried. And then obviously the neighborhood boundary. And then you can see all of these points. The colored points are points that your neighbors have dropped already. These gray points right here, all of these like with the little comment, I guess, or like the cartoon character talking. This is what we've already heard from you on past projects. And we really want to make sure, we do listen, and we want to make sure that you know that we have been listening, and you don't have to write it again because you've already told us. But it provides the opportunity for you to see what other people, for example, this is a 311 inquiry where there are some concerns about pedestrians crossing, visibility, that sort of thing. And so you have the opportunity to like or dislike this comment. The same with any of these. Oh, here's another actually good example. So we were talking about that the community transportation network is working in this neighborhood as well. And some of you may have participated in a very similar survey like this, feedback map. And so any information that we already heard, we made sure that was captured on this map as well. So again, you can like or dislike comments. And then these comments are from neighbors that have already put them in. So you can go through and again, like or dislike these. And so then if you want to be able to put your own comment down, we have categories that we're hoping that you can put your comments in. This helps us again when we're prioritizing projects and to understand what those projects might look like. So we have challenges as a pedestrian crossing the street, visibility issues, bike issues or concerns, speeding concerns, and transit concerns as well. So what you can do is I've clicked my mouse on this, and when I click it, I can pull it down. And then say I really feel like when I try to cross the street at 12th and Umatilla that I have a lot of issues being seen. So I can drop the point. And the only thing on this that's required is your comment. Yeah.
Before you type it in, would you mind zooming in, like actually like, go and full zoom version?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of options of how to zoom. Some of you may know, you can zoom in and out using your mouse and your roller bar, or you can also zoom in using up on the top right. There's this button on the top right, and you can zoom in and you can zoom out. And say I zoom in, but I actually really wanted to be further south, I can click on the map and drag around to find a location that that I'm looking for. So I'm going to switch my location because I'm zoomed into 9th and Mariposa. And I also have visibility concerns when I try to cross the street here. And so I'm going to drop the point, and then I can type in my comment. Whatever you want to say. And then you'll need to, sometimes this is clicked off. I've already been playing around on the map, so it seems like it stayed clicked on, but if it's clicked off, it will not allow you to add the comment. So you do have to agree to the terms and conditions, which is basically that everybody else can see what you've put on the screen, but definitely click on this if you want to read through them. And then it's optional to leave your name, your phone number, your email address, and you can even attach a photo if that's something that you feel like that you have or would be helpful for us. And then once you press add a comment, we're going to take this comment off, then it gives you this information. So You can tell us we also have another way of finding your comment. So you can, if you want to tell us about your comment, you can use this number, but I'm going to show you another way that we can also find your comment. If you tell us what it said, if you tell us the location or what you said in the comment, you can go over here and you can click on this comments panel and it'll bring out all of the comments. And right now it's ranked by most recent. And so this is another way actually to start to look through the comments. So say I just put that visibility comment in, but I'm curious about where other people have had issues with visibility. So I can click on this and it'll take me right to the comment. Oh, here, sorry, I'm too zoomed in. It'll take me right to the comment that is there and show me what location it's at. And then again, you can like or dislike it there. You can like or dislike it here. And if you're also curious about comments that have had the most likes or dislikes, you can click popular and it will organize the comments by the number of likes and dislikes they've had. So it's just a few different ways of observing what others have actually been putting on the map. So again, we're hoping that you'll take some time to look at what is on the map, what others have said, or maybe you just already know immediately where you want to put your comments and give us your feedback about your concerns or transportation issues. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to see Phoebe and Brett. Are there any questions that it would be good to answer right now?
We did just get one question. Haven't really had a chance to respond yet, but
Yeah.
What do you think, Brett?
Yeah, so we actually did have, this is great stuff. And I think this comment is something that is a good example of something that we want to hear in the survey itself and to put a point on, but I'll just state it out loud. Crossing Colfax or Sage or Mariposa can be dangerous for pedestrians when cars are making a left onto Colfax. So this person offers up some different potential improvements, whether that's pedestrian bridge over Colfax, four-way red lights with walk signs under Colfax walkway. So that's exactly the type of thing that we want to hear. One thing and Gabby, I'll let you speak to this as well, but one thought I do want to add is that kind of going back to what Gabby had said, we typically like to focus more on the neighborhood level, but we still want to hear about roads like Colfax, right? Because there are some things that we can do at that intersection. For instance, there's this thing called leading pedestrian interval that we can do to help with what sounds like is the issue that you're referring to, which the left turn conflicts with crossing pedestrians. So those are kind of quick win things that we can still do from an NTMP level. So yeah, I'll say that, and definitely leave that in the survey. Whoever asked that question.
Yeah.
Gabby, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I think you kind of nailed it, Brett. I mean, even though it's not a Colfax, obviously it's an arterial. There's obviously there are limited things that we can do, but there are those TISMO elements that we can potentially add, or when we have other projects, larger scale projects that are potentially tackling Colfax or Spear or stuff like that. I know, Greg, for example, you also put that comment about on the bridge itself, where the cars, instead of trying to going to the left or merging, that it's a little confusing. I do believe that the new configuration solves that, but if it doesn't, these are the comments that we can provide back as as those projects, larger scale projects take place, or other projects by other agencies. For example, I saw that we have a couple of comments in Sunken Gardens right now, because Sunken Gardens is part of the 5280 loop that we can provide to DPR, because DPR is conducting is trying to figure out how to improve Sunken Gardens right now. So it's a collaboration when it's a little bit outside our scope, but we can certainly try to make the case to our other projects and other partner agencies on including your requested improvements into their projects.
And yeah, I think that's all the written questions that we've received so far. But I did want to kind of reiterate something that Gabby had said before and what Jess also said, but NTMP program is kind of a unique program amongst projects and programs because we kind of come to you, the public, with a pretty open-ended question of where do you see issues in your neighborhood? And so that's why it's pretty paramount, pretty important that we hear from you all and as the community in this survey. So just like Gabby said, I don't know if it's something where after you fill out this survey, go ahead and do this. And if you wouldn't mind sending that to a few neighbors on your street or thinking about who else from your neighborhood would appreciate the opportunity to provide input, we would really appreciate that. You all are we're truly the vehicles through which we figure out what's going on the ground. Yes, we have data that we're trying to pair that with, but the community input here is vitally important. So yeah, thank you for your help on all this.
So I don't know if you meant to, Brett, but you did a really good job queuing up the next slide, which I am going to share now. Can everybody now see the PowerPoint again? Yeah, okay, great. So we actually are trying to find ways to make it really easy to get the word out. And so like Brett said, if you can share this link, we actually have created what we call kind of an engagement package, but really what it is just some email content, a flyer, a social media blast, things that you can literally copy and paste that we can email to you, and you can copy and paste and put it into your social media or forward that email right on to anybody else so that you don't actually have to think about what you want, how to explain this project or anything else like that. So if you are interested in having us email you this information, please just feel free to put your email into the Q&A box, and we will gather those emails, and tomorrow we'll send this out to you. And especially anybody who has access to some other listservs or like school email lists or things like that you feel comfortable sending this out to, it would be great. And you don't have to have our package to be able to copy this email address and the website address and put it in as well. But if you'd like it, please let us know. So I think that really wraps it up for us, unless again, please feel free to put some more questions in the Q&A and your emails, and we'll move slowly through this last slide so that you have an opportunity to do that. So Gabby, do you want to run through it, or you want me to run through it?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay,
I think
great.
we kind of covered it. Yeah.
So we've this is just another way really of showing you what's coming, a different type of project timeline. Basically, like we said, we're going to be taking the next month to really compile everything that we heard from you and map it, start to look at it, with our crash data and all of our other analysis and layer it on top of each other. And then we're going to use that to do some project identification. And so really what we use the information from you are what are those high priority locations? And then we actually start to think about, well, what would actually solve that problem and what would make it safer? So when I say project identification, it's actually also coming up with what those project location, and then project definitions. And then after that, we will come back to you, the public, and we will show you what projects we are recommending. And like we've said all along, we're likely to have more projects than we actually have the funding, the budget to be able to move forward. So we will ask you for help in prioritizing those projects. We just got through this process in West Colfax and Villa Park, and we got great feedback. And so I think that we're well set to be able to do that again. And then after that, we are going to develop our action plan. And again, you'll have an opportunity to give feedback on that. And it's at the draft action plan stage that you'll be able to actually see really more detailed designs of what those NTMP projects that will be built over the next half year or 24 months. And so that's your opportunity to give us any final feedback on what they will look like. So yeah, that's our wrap up for the next bunch of months. Again, I'm going to pause for, I'm not sure if did any other questions come in? Doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think so, actually. So,
All right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So, well, thank you for joining us in this hour. We're 5 minutes ahead of time. Again, please share this process, this program with your friends and neighbors. And we are here if you need any sort of general, blurbs or anything to put in an email chain or anything like that. We'll be happy to provide that for you. Like Jess was saying, the survey is going to remain open until for about one more week until November 8th. So please continue sharing it as much as possible internally with anybody that you know of. And with that, thank you so much and have a lovely night, everyone.